Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of A Dose of Sass. I'm so excited for today's episode because I have my friend Lauren Leavell with us. She is a weight neutral, inclusive group fitness instructor. She teaches bar classes, amongst other things. And we recently reached a new level in our friendship where we started sending cat pictures to each other. And I feel like that really has defined things for us. So I'm excited
Serious now.
to have a real conversation with her on the podcast. Welcome, Lauren.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. We have to the cat people of the world. We just get in there real quick with the friendships. We just build
Yeah,
bonds over our beautiful feline children.
it's so easy. I feel like it's easier to bond over cat pictures than it is baby pictures.
Definitely, at least for me right now.
Yeah, same. We have a lot we want to talk about today. We've already been talking, her and I have already been talking for like 20 minutes off camera, and we're like, should we record this thing? So who knows where we're going to head with this, but I want to start with a fun little icebreaker question, which is what is your current food hyperfixation or meal hyperfixation at the moment?
Oh yeah. I used to go through a lot more of them than I do now. I would say I'm in my oatmeal era. So which is good. It's really good because I can do that at home and there is like space for variety. I live with someone who could eat literally the same thing all the time, and the hyperfixations don't really run out for him. Um, so I would say oatmeal is it right now, and doing it up, getting a little like granola butter on there, getting a little Greek yogurt on there, some fruit. That's what we're building an oatmeal bowl. We're building like a hearty oatmeal right now. In 1 week it'll switch to smoothies. So see you there.
I'm waiting for the smoothies to come back into rotation for me. It's been a little bit too cold at the
Mhm.
moment and rainy that I don't want to have to wear a sweater when I drink my smoothies. So
I
I'm
think that's
waiting.
why the oatmeal started because I was like, oh yeah, Philadelphia is supposed to have a winter again. I'll get back to you on that because climate change. Um, but but yeah, I was like, okay, it's gonna be way too cold for smoothies. I need to have somewhere that acts as an apparatus for like fruit and fiber and all the things that my smoothie really does for me most of the year. And so oatmeal it was, and here we are. And I'm having a good time with it. It's not too bad.
I'm in a toast and yogurt situation
Okay.
at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not far off. I feel like that kind of balances out the toast has the fiber that the oatmeal would be giving here.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's my little icebreaker hyperfixation safe foods report with Lauren. um, so tell me a little bit about yourself. You call yourself a weight neutral instructor. How did you land in this space? What does that mean?
Yeah. So I definitely was not a fit kid. I wasn't a fit teen. I wasn't someone who was interested in working out necessarily. And when I originally started working out, it was in the pursuit of changing my body, which I don't think is an uncommon story. And and then I put it down for a second, reevaluated, really looked at what I wanted to get out of movement, what I wanted to get out of doing this with my body. And I was like, yeah, maybe I don't have to focus on changing my body. So as a weight neutral trainer and instructor, I take on clients. Maybe they are pursuing aesthetic body changes, but that's not what we're doing together. We are focusing on different goals, endurance goals, strength goals. So when I'm weight neutral and I'm not going to take measurements. I'm not going to have people weigh themselves. We're not basing progress off of weight loss or gain. And we're really not talking about that. It's their business what they're talking about with other members of their care team, with their doctor, with their friends. But I'm a space where we're going to get work done and we're going to do body, do things with our body, do exercise, and not have to focus on that the whole time.
For sure. How do you focus on that? Does it come down to like the language you use in classes that
100%.
keeps
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's part of it. I would say that's part of the weight neutral scope, but also part of being more trauma informed and more inclusive in general. Where I teach bar, as you know. So if you close your eyes and picture a bar teacher, it may not be me, but it might if I was the bar class that you took, which I would love. But typically, it's like the long and lean is really emphasized in bar. And I think that's just hilarious because I'm just like, a little block. Like I'm not long or lean. I'm not. And I think that even using descriptors like that with good intention of saying like, like you're building your long, lean muscle, it's not it for everyone that doesn't connect with everyone. Using words like toning, I won't take over this podcast with the word toning. I will not talk about toning the whole time. Will not talk about toning the whole time. But toning it carries such a like not bulky, right? It's the anti-bulky, and bulky is big and big is bad. That's what the cascade of toning is. And toning is also extremely gendered because typically it's directed at people who are women, like you get toned and dudes can get big, dudes can get bulky. Women can't get bulky, must get toned. So words like that are typically associated with shrinking, making yourself smaller, bikini body, anything like that. Like it's just not there because it's not important in my classes. That's not why we're here. So I think that is what sets my classes apart from a lot of the regular or, you know, typical studio bar classes that people are experiencing.
Yeah, lucky for you, you are the only bar class I took, so
So
I
when you
can't.
close your eyes, you think of me.
Exactly. One thing I appreciated in your class, talking about language, is anytime we were doing a movement, not only was the theme for this kind of class do less, which I want to dive into, but like it's just processing information. Anytime you're doing a movement, like, oh, this side might be stiffer than the other side, take note. Like just like filter that in your brain. And I feel like that's such a interesting way to think about movement, and something that obviously I'm trying to make a switch towards now, but of just like, oh, there's no moral difference in like I'm flexier on this side and not bendy on the other side. Like, okay, it's not like, oh, this side's bad, this side's good. It just is what it is. And I feel like that makes for a really safe space.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I have so many clients who are like, "Oh, I have bad knees. I have bad this. This side is bad. I have a bad hip." And that's language that was definitely given to them by probably professionals, probably their doctor, probably, your knees are bad. Like, wow, to process someone saying to your face that like a part of your body that is typically for a lot of people very integral in what they do, like it's bad. You internalize that as bad. And then you also go around treating your knees as bad. And a lot of times they need to be treated and integrated with your body, not completely shunned and being like, oh, I can't do anything that is going to go near my knees. Because that's not always the most helpful tool when you're trying to build strength and support your knees. So I think language is really important to not say like, oh, this is my bad side. Sometimes I'll be like, this is my side where balance is hard to find. Um, it's hard to find balance in this lunge for me. And that's real. We have a side that we love to go to, we love to do things on, and then we have a side that's like, you're gonna teach me something today. And it's about leaning into both of those roles in your movement practice for sure.
Yeah. What so like I said, the class I went to, the theme of the day was and I don't know if maybe this is your theme all the time, but was like do a little, like do less, do a little bit less. Will you explain that a little more?
Yeah, I think that, and I've been talking about this now. We're in a new year, so that's what happens at the new year. Um, but I think that we often go into fitness classes thinking like, holy shit, this is my only 45 minutes to do anything, and I have to do it all right now, immediately. Like, it's very important that I get the most out of this bar class, and people are just really like wringing themselves out to get everything done in 45 minutes. And I'm real. I teach a pretty fast paced class, or like medium fast pace class, in my opinion. And so if you're newer or if you're whatever, like it will feel kind of fast. So encouraging people to slow down and do less, particularly people who are always doing the most in every other part of their life. Like I know it's not just in my class where they're trying to do the most. I know they're trying to do the most at work. They're trying to do the most with their kids. They're trying to do the most at home. They have to do the most with their cats. They have to do the most for dinner. Um, all of the things are like over the top, and encouraging those types of people to do less is a challenge. Um, Encouraging people to not go into a further stretch, right? Like, you can go further, but it feels fine here. Encouraging people to stop and do a little bit less is a challenge for a lot of people. And it's important information to learn about yourself. Like, why do I want to keep doing the most? Who do I have to prove anything to? Is it just for me? Does it actually feel better? Or am I really pushing myself because I feel like exercise should always be pushed to the max and a little bit punishing for it to count? So I think it's really about the mindset of how you go into these workouts, like less than it is about it being challenging, because bar kicks my ass, but it's fun for me. Like it's a fun challenge. So yes, I was challenged in this class, but I wasn't having a bad time. If you're consistently going to workouts and being challenged and having a horrible time and then talking shit to yourself for the next hour or two afterwards, it's not giving a health promoting behavior. It's giving torture.
Yeah. How did you end up in this bar space? Have you always loved bar? How did you get into bar?
Yeah. Talk about hyperfixations, right? I was, like I said, I was working out. It was definitely in the pursuit of body changes, and I kind of chilled out for a while. I never really completely gave up exercise while I was working on my relationship with food and disordered eating, but I put it on the back burner. And that's exactly how I framed it to myself at that point. I said, you know what? This isn't going anywhere, but I'm going to move it down the priority list. It's not going to be taking over right now. I have a lot of other things to do. I was graduating. I had a ton of student loan debt to pay off. Like there was other things coming into play that I was able to be like, just move down a couple notches. And then a bar studio opened in my neighborhood. They were doing free classes. Your girl loves a free class. I went to this bar studio, took this class. I truly had to sit down after the class and like call my husband to pick me up. It was only a few blocks from our house, and I was like, I can't walk home. I feel ill. Um and and again, because of curiosity and also just like looking for something that was different than I had been doing before I put that movement down for a second. I went back, I explored that movement, and I really started I liked so many things about it, and I liked how I could see how it could be more inclusive. Like I saw the beauty in what the actual workout was. I didn't necessarily see that reflected at the time, but I could imagine it reflected, which is why I pursued it further, because I was like, why not me? Why couldn't I be the one teaching this? Why couldn't I have a class of people who wanted to take movement classes with someone who looked like me and would feel more comfortable, and someone who would feel more understanding about modifications and variations and how things looked different in different bodies? Because like, if you're jumping up and down and you have a larger chest, like there's modifications that need to be in place, or like really good compression garments that need to be in place. Like there's just some things that don't translate from an instructor who's not interested in being more inclusive.
For sure. I remember I went to a local class recently, maybe like a year ago. The instructor was like in a larger body, and that's the first time in like a real life setting that I've done a lot of virtual classes with
Hmm.
instructors, but first time in a real life setting, in a real life like gym, that I had seen someone teaching a larger body, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like wildly helpful." And two, like we finished up like 30 minutes, and she was like, "Okay, I want to do like another like 15-minute arm finisher. If you want to stick around, you just did a 30-minute workout. So if you want to leave now, like go ahead." And I was like, cool, I'm gonna go because my legs were shaking. And she was like, next time, like give it one more song, or like give it a try, whatever. But it was just really helpful to have the option to leave, have the option to do a modification. I know you're big on modifications, big on rest days. No matter how good I feel in my relationship with like movement and body in my own head, having somebody teach it that way like makes a big difference.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love telling people they could leave whenever they want. I really do because like I said, it's literally not that serious. Like you're more likely to be consistent and come back if you feel like you have the permission and the body autonomy while you're in the class. And also, again, we're just in a space and in a society and in a world where there is so much mean, like, and there's so much pressure from negativity or like fear. I don't want to be that for some. I don't want to be a place where people go to have like fear, the fear that they're not doing enough, the fear that they're not moving enough. Like I want this to be a loving, silly, goofy mood space.
Right,
Like
exactly. Did you go straight to neutral and bypass body positive, or did you start thinking?
collect $200. No, no, I think body positivity. I have a lot of feelings about body positivity, and I've shared a lot of them with you, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Um, Body positivity was a social justice movement, is still a social justice movement. And I was introduced to it in that way and in that form, and really like saw the beauty of inclusion, including different body types, really like holding space for people of color, which a lot of like body movement, like are who are often like completely closed out of every other thing. Um, so I was in that space and understanding that space from more of a social justice like sprinkle, we'll say. And then getting into that space online, it's like very much like not that. Not that. For the most part on social media, it is very much not a social justice thing. It is a body thing, and it is often conflated with self-love. Um, I have a lot to say about self-love too. I don't have a problem with self-love. Obviously, I wish that for everyone, and it just does not always feel attainable. Um, and so body neutrality for me came up when I really started examining what this like social media version of body positivity was, and feeling like that wasn't necessarily what I was striving for. I wasn't striving for this like big like virtual hug of like, yes, like just love yourself. It felt very um it didn't feel super nuanced. It didn't feel super inclusive. I wasn't seeing a lot of inclusivity. And moving to body neutrality was a choice for me personally. And that's something we talked about a little bit, but body positivity is a movement. And like I said, a social justice movement. It is meant to be a collective movement, and as well as body liberation, what Chrissy King talks about a lot. So if you're interested in body liberation, Chrissy King is your girl. Um,
I need to read her book still.
yeah, but I think on a personal level, holding neutrality and being curious, body curiosity, is a little bit for me where I'm just like, okay, this is what we're working with. I'm not going to go out of my way to critique and or, overemphasize this thing that's going on. I'm going to work with what's going on and kind of keep going. It took some of the volatile, like, I love myself, I hate this. I love myself, I hate this. It took some of that roller coaster out of it by thinking about it neutrally and thinking about being present in my body and being present in this version of my body. If I have an injury, if I'm sick, if, something doesn't feel like it's working the way that it used to, or something is working in a different way that it used to, how can I still stay present in my body and not be mean. So I think that that's really where the neutrality came up. And I work with a lot of people who are not in a space where you could just be like, just love yourself, which again, I know is not what the true body positivity movement was made for, but is what so much of us are seeing. Like that's what we're seeing. And just love yourself is not.
It's such a vague instruction with like no actionable steps most of the time. I was
Just don't be anxious. Okay.
yeah, giving like telling someone with depression, like maybe don't be sad.
Just smile. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
exactly.
okay. Like,
That's not
girl, what?
I was introduced to the body positivity in quotes as the internet movement first. The
Hmm.
internet
Hmm.
like self-love conflated section of the internet. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And it was like at a place in my journey where I was quitting dieting and getting to the point where I was like, okay, I don't want to hate my body anymore. So which direction can we go? And that started as a really helpful place.
Hmm.
I started to realize like, and then I forget who, I want to say it was Tiffany Ema who like I first heard this from, who like I've discovered body positivity, the movement as the social, and I was like, oh, that's not that's not for me as a like semi-thin white person,
Right.
but this part of the internet we've gotten confused. And
Somewhere along the way, the wires got
we've
crossed.
lost the initial plot of the movie. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to identify with, and I had like just kind of started posting a little bit of my own content on the internet as well. And I was using hashtags like body positive and all this kind of stuff because I thought they were the same thing. And then I quickly learned that they are not the same thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to head in a different direction and stick with like body acceptance, body
Yeah,
confidence, body neutral, like anything else, honestly. And I also at the same time was like, okay, body positivity, self love is great, but what do I do on a bad day when like telling yourself just love yourself is not a helpful phrase.
totally.
I realized that it was much more approachable, much more achievable for me to just try not to think about my body at all. Like, I just want to forget that it exists generally. I want to be able to look in the mirror and be like, okay, ready for my day, and not be like, okay, yes, love, slay, queen every day. Like, I don't need to do that at all times. And I don't think that that's accessible for everyone. I don't think it needs
Totally.
to be the goal for everyone.
No, no, and I think that that's where like body liberation and really like body autonomy and who gets to love their body without correction, without medical professionals denying them care, without like the other social things that happen outside of social media, the real life things that happen that determine who gets to just be like, yes, I'm like slay. Yes, I love my body. Like you can love it all you want, but you may go somewhere and be denied care. And who's more likely to have that experience? And where does intersectionality fit into this? Like, where does being a fat black woman differ from being a fat white woman? And like, I think that it's really important to know the differences between like a movement and a hashtag for sure.
Switching gears a little bit, it has been a tumultuous time on the internet at the moment. It's early 2024. It's heavy New Year's resolution time.
We're going through it. The girls are not okay.
We're not well. Do you feel like you can have a healthy relationship with your body, a neutral or even positive relationship with your body, and pursue aesthetic goals?
I think this question is very interesting because when I hear you ask it, I think about myself first, right? And you said, do you think that you could have a
Mm.
healthy relationship with your body and pursue aesthetic goals? And if you're asking me, Lauren Leavell, I'm going to say probably not. Probably not personally. I think there are things like this big curly mop that I have on my head that are like really easy to change up by doing a different hairstyle, doing a different hair color. But for me personally, if I were to set a goal based entirely in aesthetics, I think that would derail my some of my progress mentally and emotionally when it comes to how I feel about my body because I just don't think everyone can do that. I'm not saying people can't. I'm sure there are people who can without it becoming all consuming. But I think that since I have been in that space and walked that line before, I have no interest in going back there by putting myself through that. Do I know that doing certain types of workouts could result in my body changing in a certain type of way. We'll say I've added a ton of glute workout, like tons of glute work. Do I think that could potentially change how my butt looks or how my waist and butt ratio look? Yes. Is it a guarantee that that's going to happen? No. Is it a guarantee that I'll be able to maintain doing all this glute work because now my butt is sore all the time? Like, no. So I think that knowing that certain things could result in your body changing is okay and a good space to be in, because we just talked about your body's going to change all the time. But for me personally, Lauren, no, I can't be like, this year I want to intentionally do X, Y, and Z, because it will become very all consuming for me. But that is just my own opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe the other girls can.
I'm with you. I think I know myself. I know that what I would have to do, the kind of routines and habits I would have to do to make those kind of changes are not ones that I'm willing to do. I'm not willing to sacrifice where I'm at in my relationship with food and body to chase some kind of aesthetic, nor am I willing to maintain them forever. Like, and
Totally.
they're possible for sure, but I don't, like you said, I don't want to do a glute workout every single day.
And it just can, for some people, be a very slippery slope when you're framing your goals that way. It's easy. It's so easy for us to fall back into that, where we can pick ourselves apart. And maybe for some people, framing a specific aesthetic change is not a form of picking themselves apart, but I think for a lot of people, framing I want to change this very easily sounds like this is wrong with me now.
Mm.
And it gets a little fuzzy, gets a little murky.
How do you feel about the trend of like low impact movement, low impact workouts?
Okay, I appreciate that low impact movement had a trend, had a bump. We'll see how long, right? Like every trend, it's always like we got to go the opposite way now. So maybe by the end of this year, we'll be like the highest impact workout you could do. Uh, Slam your body to the ground or
Honestly,
else.
I would not be surprised.
But so I think that modeling the fact that fitness can be done in a low impact way, and I have to add my trainer nuance and say low impact is different for everyone. That looks different on everybody. That could look different from phase to phase in your body. So for some people, it might not be low impact. I could say that I'm teaching a class that is lower impact. And in my definition, that means there's not going to be any jumping and there will be minimal level changes. But for some people, maybe they do a bunch of level changes. They just don't do jumping. And so it's really about navigating that space with a little bit more nuance than just putting everything under the umbrella of low impact. And I think it's important to model that exercise can be done without jumping. Exercise can be done without slamming your body around. Exercise can be effective, air quotes, effective, whatever that effect you are looking for is, without completely beating up your body every time, with higher impact movement. I don't love the idea of it being a low impact versus, or a this versus, because I do low impact workouts. My bar classes are technically, in that definition I said, no jumping, minimal level changes, a low impact workout. And I also teach a high impact workout class. I also do strength training of my own. There's a variety of things to do. And what is lost on a lot of people is that you're going to be more consistent if you like it, and you're going to be more consistent if you're able to recover from it. And so low impact is nice for that, for a lot of people, because you're not getting that 2 or 3 day soreness or true fatigue that you might get from consistent high impact workouts, especially if you're new to it and you don't know how to feed your body in a way that will help it recover.
I think most of the conversation around like bar and Pilates and low impact is like, I stopped weightlifting and I only do this now, and like, look how my body has changed, or like,
Mm-hmm.
I healed my hormones, or I like whatever.
Yeah, yeah. This is not going to be a hormone podcast, because you don't want to get me on that, because I'm just like, I literally like, what? You are not an endocrinologist. Like, get
Literally.
out.
Anytime somebody mentions like one tiny habit change or one tiny like thing in their life that like this thing healed my gut. This thing fixed, balanced my hormones. This, and I'm like, did it? Or
Hmm.
like, did you also change your job? Or did you like,
Yeah, yeah. Or did you start taking Pilates and also that was a catalyst for you like feeding yourself lunch and like you got better sleep because your muscles weren't as sore and you had better food throughout the day. And like, we won't even get into how much a Pilates class costs, like all the other layers to that, which, like, yeah, maybe one thing can be that catalyst. Maybe taking a bar class can be the catalyst you need for, like, oh, that felt some type of way. Now I know that I'm going to do this as a cross training. I would love to start running. Bar is a great cross training for that. You start running and this happens, this happens. Like, but that's life. We're always adding up and stacking and restacking these things that are life changing because our life is constantly changing.
yeah. And I think the danger comes in seeing just one tiny sliver of somebody's life and going, oh, they stopped weightlifting, they started doing bar, and now they look like this, and putting the like jumping to that conclusion because it's never just that
Right.
99.9% of the time.
Yeah, no.
And like getting into low impact, getting into bar, getting into whatever doesn't mean you can't do anything else. Like
I was
that.
just going to say, like, we don't need to be discouraging people and telling people not to weightlift unless there is truly like something going on that they have worked with a doctor and physical therapist on, not just a trainer from their gym. Like, they worked with someone who was more specialized in that and said, yeah, you know what? I don't think strength training in this way is for you. Bar could still be considered a form of strength training. It's body weight training. But it's very different than, putting the barbell on your back. But I get that. But we shouldn't be discouraging people from doing multiple things, like you said.
No,
Like, girl, don't give it up.
yeah,
Mix it in.
yeah, exactly. I don't like to do the same workout in a row. Same way I don't like to eat the same meal 2 days in a row. I want variety, and I think that that's part of having a healthy relationship with movement. Is like it's in your life, like your body's going to change, your life is going to change, your routine's going to change. If you can't picture yourself doing a 30-minute bar class every single day for the rest of your life, then like don't put that pressure on yourself. Like
Yeah, and that's what it feels like when it's a trend because it is all or nothing. It's like now you only do Pilates actually.
I just want to end on like one little tidbit. Do you have like one piece of advice for people pursuing like healing their relationship with movement this year or getting back into it or exploring, getting curious about it? Do you have one piece of advice?
Piece of advice that I would give to people who are trying to reframe and heal their relationship with movement would be to really get curious. Curiosity has been such a healing tool for me. Just kind of following those threads of like, oh, something came up, right? That mean thing that I wanted to say to myself. Where's that coming from? Or why am I feeling that way? Or can I redirect that? Can I reframe that? Can I say, you know, oh, it's obvious that my right side is my bad side, to, oh, I noticed that this side is a little bit different with balance. Maybe I should add another prop. Maybe I should practice more on this side. Maybe I should, see what it feels like if I take this variation instead of forcing myself to do the exact same thing on the exact, on opposite sides just because I'm worried about being uneven. And curiosity around your fitness and movement routine can be so fun and so amazing. And getting back into movement comes up every time I post a question thing on social media. I know. And it comes up all the time, like, how do I get back into this? Especially because folks who are following me are moving away from creating that connection between diet and exercise. They're trying to separate their relationship with fitness from dieting, which is what it had always been associated with in the past. And I'm actually hosting a workshop about getting back to movement to like really help people who have moved before, who have been people who have worked out before, but maybe not in the way that they want to move their bodies now in the present. How do we figure out how to come back after having a baby, an injury, after, really like focusing and healing your relationship with food and your body? How do we get back to working out in a way that is not going to cause that progress to fall away, to really focus on getting integrated with movement and making it a part of our lives that we actually enjoy.
I love that. Yeah, that sounds great. I want to go. I will put all of the details about that. I think it's coming up in the show notes so you can. Is it free? Is it paid? What is it? What's it?
It's paid. It's paid. It's a sliding scale. Yes, it is paid. It's sliding scale. It's going to be a little over an hour. There's going to be space for like a little Q&A. And of course, everything I do, I try to make it as accessible as I can. So, there will be scholarships.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay, yeah. I'll put all those details in the show notes, so feel free to check that out. Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh gosh. Will they,
You want them
I do want them to, but they can find me at Lauren Leavell Fitness. Leavell is spelled like leave with two L's. On TikTok, Lauren Leavell Fit. And if you're interested in joining a very low stakes, fun, silly, goofy mood time to work out from home, you can absolutely become a member of my fitness membership. It's easy peasy, month to month. We have live and on demand classes, a variety of levels and a variety of different classes.
Awesome. Check
There
her
will
out.
be cats. There will be cats.
There will be cats. That is the selling point for me. Uh, follow her on Instagram. Share this episode with a friend. Lauren, thanks for chatting.
Yes, we could
You're
go on
welcome.
forever.
I know. And we probably will continue to talk after this. So thanks for tuning in for the recorded portion of our conversation.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.